Hello, and welcome to the Scottish Society of Martha's Vineyard's 35th annual celebration of the birth of the Bard of Scotland, Robert Burns. My name is Steve Ewing, and I'll be guiding us through the program today. As you watch this recording, hopefully everyone is comfortable at home, digging into a feast of traditional Scots fare, some haggis, beef or mutton pie, cockaliki soup, finished with some shortbread, washed down with a dram of single malt. Before the coronavirus pandemic, which has altered all our lives, the Scottish Society of Martha's Vineyard hosted gala affairs where 100 or more would gather for an evening of poetry, song, and toasting. The virus has changed all that. The Society has been resilient, though, and we have continued with our tradition. Last year, with the help of Pastor Rich Rigo, who has relocated to the coast of Maine, we pieced together a virtual Burns supper highlighting past gatherings, which we shared on our website. We also sponsored a takeout version of a Burns supper, which folk picked up at the PA Club in Oak Bluffs. This year, we are running the same takeout with a bit of an expanded menu. A highlight of our spread is a soup generously donated by Moe's Kitchen. Remember, all proceeds from the takeout and our silent auction benefit our scholarship fund. This year, for your entertainment, we are trying something new. What you are about to appreciate is a condensed version of our traditional program, which has been previously recorded at St. Andrew's Church in Edgartown. St. Andrew is the patron saint of Scotland, so it is appropriate that we film this presentation in his place of worship. I'd like to thank the pastor of the church, Reverend Chip Seedale, and all the members of the congregation for allowing us the opportunity to honor the spirit of Rabbi Burns in this beautiful building. The Burns Supper has been celebrated each year on or about January 25th, the birthday of Rabbi in the year 1759. Burns was celebrated in his time, and his poems and his story have endured through the years. All over the world, Scottish societies and clubs are celebrating the Bard using the same basic program we are following here today. Without further ado, let's honor Scotland's native son, Robert Burns, and what better way to set the tone than some more pipe music from Bruce McNamee. Thank you, Bruce. Now, I'd like to welcome to the podium Chris Scott, who will deliver the first toast, Ode to a Haggis. Chris.
Thank you, Steve. Robert Burns wrote the address to the haggis in 1787. Far your honest sonsy face, great chieftain of the puddin' race, aboon them and yet take your place, pinch tribe or tharm, wheel all your worldly o' grace, as long as me arm. The groaning trencher there ye fill, your hurdy's like a distant hill, your pin would help to mend a mill in time of need, while through your pores the dews distill like amber bee. His knife, see your rustic labor dight, and cut you with a ready sleight, trenching your gushing entrails bright, like only ditch. And then, oh, what a glorious sight, warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stretch and strive, they'll take the hindmost on they drive, till all the wheel a swell the Katie's bive, and bend like drums, then all woodmen must arrive, be thanked homes. Is there that always French ragout, or oyo what star a sow, or fricassee what make her spew, with perfect scorner, looks down on sneering scornful you on such a dinner. Poor devil, see him o'er his trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spindle shank, a grilled whiplash, his knee a knit, though bloody flood or field of dash, oh, how unfit. But mark, the rustic haggis fed, his trembling earth resounds his tread. Clasp in his wally kneve a blade, he'll make it whistle, and legs and arms and heads will sneed like taps of thistle. Ye powers, what make mankind your care, and dish them out their bill of fare. All Scotland wants not stinking ware that chops in boogies, but if you wish our grateful prayer, give her a haggis. To the haggis.
Ah, Bob Mackay would have liked that one, Chris. Before we sit down to a Burns supper, we always bless the meal with Burns's Selkirk grace. I'd like to introduce Phil Dietrich and the internationally acclaimed Scottish Society singers, who will sing the Selkirk grace for us.
Some can eat and cannot eat, and some will eat that want it. But we can eat and we can eat, so let the Lord be thanked. Some can eat and some can eat, and some can eat and some will eat, and some will eat that we can eat.
Thank you, Phil and singers, that was beautiful. Burns's suppers are typically a simple meal. Meat, potatoes, chapataties, a vegetable, bash neeps, of course haggis, and dessert, accompanied by a series of excuses to drink Scotch whiskey. We call these excuses toasts. Now I'd like to introduce Sophia Anthony, who will offer a toast to the President of the United States. Sophia.
Tonight, as we do every year at this time, we celebrate Robbie Burns. We do this because, in part, we love and admire Robbie's strength, determination, and basic goodness, proven by his past. We also take this moment to show our pride in and to pledge our support of the President of our United States of America, Joe Biden. He is a person who certainly does not share all of the traits we enjoy in Robbie's past. But who is the author of these literal quotes? Firmness is enduring, and exertion is a character I have always wished to possess. I've always despised the whining yelp of complaint and cowardly resolve. Dare to be honest and fear no labor. Now's the day and now's the hour. These were spoken by Robbie Burns. Who could have said them very recently. I think it's likely the voice you hear does not sound Scottish. All three of these quotes could have come from the mouth of President Biden. I have the honor of raising a toast to our President Biden and Dr. Jill Biden from the Scottish Society of Martha's Vineyard. Joe bears many of these qualities so important to us. He carries decisions, actions, foresight, probably of more impact than any in this world. We lift our toast to him because of his strength, determination, and basic goodness, proven by his past.
Thank you, Sophia. That was very well done. I'm sure President Biden would appreciate his association with our society. The next toast is to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Here to toast the Queen is Patricia Correa. Patricia?
Hello. A toast to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The facts of her life are all well known. When she was born, when she came to the throne, her marriage with Philip, and the babes that were born. As the years went round, the weight of the crown, worn with strength and grace, even as age put lines in her face. Family pride, family shame, annus horribilis. Never complain, never explain. Words succinct and terse, spoken by the monarch who carries a black purse. Will she be here for another year? The question will hover until we hear. The American poet Emily Dickinson wrote, "Fame is a bee. It has a song. It has a sting. Ah, too, it has a wing. Fame will not fly from Elizabeth. Fame will fly with her." May God bless Her Majesty the Queen.
done, Patricia, thank you. Now is the time in the program to honor Robert Burns in song. What better way than with our own internationally acclaimed Scottish Society singers under the direction of Phil Dietrich. Take it away, Phil.
And below the bonny briar bush there's a lassie and a lad, and they're busy courting in your care yard. Oh, man, your maid's been good and one in your care yard. Oh, man, your maid's been good and one in your care yard. But moon a sick particular say muckle on their guard, that lassie shake the heads that love in your care yard. Will you gang to the dancing in Carlisle's Hall? Will you gang to the dancing in Carlisle's Hall? With Sandy and Nancy and Sheldon and Ma.
Will you gang to the dancing in Carlisle's Hall? We'll court no more below the bus in our Killyard. We'll court no more below the bus in our Killyard. What will I do for a lad when Sandy gangs along? What will I do for a lad when Sandy gangs along? I will hope to Edinburgh and we'll Annie fee and see if any lad will fancy me. He's gone to play the North. Oh, that's to marry me. He's gone to play the North. That's to marry me. Oh, in his bonnet and the ribbon at his knee. Oh, ribbon at his knee. Oh, ribbon at his knee.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and old lang syne? For old lang syne, my Jo, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet. For old lang syne, and surely he'll be your pint stop, and surely I'll be mine, and we'll take a cup of kindness yet. For old lang syne, for old lang syne, my Jo, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet. For old lang Wahe paid out in the burn, frae morning sun till dine, but seas between us braid rod, sin old lang syne. For old lang syne, my Jo, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet. For old lang syne, and here's a hand, my trusty fear, and gaze a hand of thine, and we'll take a great gift while we hold. For old lang
That was brilliant. Thank you. Nothing brings us closer to Scotland than your music. The highlight of our toasting today is to the bard himself. This toast is called the Immortal Memory. We are honored this year to have again our good friend from the Kingdom of Fife, Scotland, David Roy. David has delivered the toast to Burns in person twice before on Martha's Vineyard. On each occasion, the crowd has been enthralled by David's authentic peek into old Scotland and the unvarnished Robbie Burns. Here, from the homeland, I give you Mr. David Roy.
Hello to all my friends in the Vineyard, and hope you're enjoying this virtual Burns supper, and hope you enjoy a few of my thoughts on Burns and politics and my toast to his immortal memory. Now, you would think that back in Burns' day, without social media, the 24-hour news cycle and the permanent digital presence we have today, you would think that those people wishing to be elected would have things largely their own way. But this isn't necessarily true. Scotland was a very literate society. Published pamphlets, articles in newspapers, songs and performances carried great weight. And these people knew it. They knew it was important to get the support of people like Burns, just as Burns was keen to capture the patronage of the rich and powerful. But he never hid his distaste for these people, and he was very openly critical. He wrote, "Suppose I take a spurt and mix amongst the world of politics, electors and elected, where dogs at court, sad sons of bitches, septennially a madness touches till all the land's infected." And that is the harshest criticism that would raise eyebrows even today. But Burns knew what his influence was, and he understood the power of the written word. He wrote, "'Tis very true, my sovereign king, my skill may weel be doubted, but facts are chiels that winna ding, and downa be disputed. Facts are chiels that winna ding. Facts are men that won't be overturned," is the translation. You may doubt my opinion, you may doubt my skill as a poet, but you can't doubt facts. Burns moved to Edinburgh after the second edition of his first work of poems. It gave him some money and he mixed amongst the very rich and powerful. He met many MPs, and although he was sometimes sympathetic towards those on the left, the Whigs, he still had to suck up to those on the right that had the power, the Tories, those in actual government at the time. But he never wrote kindly. Really, he never properly wrote kindly about politics and politicians, and his radicalism always shone through. One of his most famous poems, certainly in Scotland, was about the Act of Union in 1707. Now, Burns was a romantic, of course, and although he understood the economic and financial necessity of the Act of Union, he still mourned the loss of Scotland as an independent country. He termed the MPs who basically sacrificed Scotland's independence as such a parcel of rogues in a nation. A term still used today by Scots journalists when they refer to MPs. And he wrote, "O would, or had I seen the day, that treason thus could sell us. My old grey head had lain in clay wi' Bruce and loyal Wallace. But pith and power, till my last hour, I'll mak this declaration, were bought and sold for English gold, such a parcel of rogues in a nation." Were bought and sold for English gold. He understood that Scotland was immeasurably better off given access to the English Empire. He understood that the English would write off the Scottish debt because Scotland was effectively bankrupt. And of course, he understood that the wealth it would bring him personally if he was to become a plantation foreman in Jamaica. Something that, of course, he was intended to do in 1786. He even had a ticket in the end he never used. But he was clearly feeling very guilty about it. He went to great pains to try and excuse what he was doing when he wrote about a Scotch bard on his way to the West Indies. He explains, "He ne'er was given to great misguiding, yet coin his pouches wadna bide in. Wi' him it ne'er was under hiding, he dealt it free. The muse was all that he took pride in, and that's o'er the sea. Yet coins his pouches wouldna bide in," he writes in this verse. Coins in his pockets wouldn't stay. He was a spendthrift. He understood how expensive it was to live like a hedonist that he enjoyed, and he was prepared to go to Jamaica and control slaves, something that he obviously despised, in order to earn enough money to do what he wished. But of course, he was an egalitarian at heart. He despised unscrupulous and greedy landowners, and generally he wrote harshly of them. He compared the Highland lairds to the devil in his address of Beelzebub, because of their policy of clearing people off the land. In The Jolly Beggars, he rails against the powerful when he writes, "A fig for those by law protected. Liberty's a glorious feast. Courts for cowards were erected, churches built to please the priest." And yet, as I say, seeking for financial security, he sucked up to Robert Graham of Fintry, who was able to appoint him as a tax collector in what was known as the excise or customs. This is a position that, of course, provided him with £50 a year in financial security. He must have had great inner conflict, taking on a role with a despised Tory government. A Tory government at the time who was far, far further to the right than even the most extreme Republican could be today. He writes, when he was trying to curry favour with Robert Graham, he writes, "Prop of my dearest hopes for future times, why shrinks my soul half blushing, half afraid, backwards, abashed to ask my friendly aid? I know my need, I know thy giving hand, I tax thy friendship at thy kind command." I tax thy friendship at thy kind command. He understood full well what he was asking, and it must have made him bleed to have to write those verses just to get a job. A far more accurate way of looking at Burns's attitude towards politics is when he writes in English, "A man's a man for all that." Now this is one of his most famous poems. This is something of a socialist anthem. Something that was taken up by the Soviets. This is why one of the reasons that Burns is so popular today, even in Russia, and why indeed there is a Burns Club in Moscow today. He writes, "What though in hamely fare we dine, where hodden grey and a' that, gie fools their silks and knaves their wine, a man's a man for a' that. Their tinsel show and a' that. The honest man, though e'er sae poor, is king o' men for a' that. See yon birkie, God a lord, wha struts and stares and a' that. Though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a coof for a' that. For a' that and a' that, his ribbon star and a' that, the man o' independent mind, he looks and laughs at a' that. Then let us pray that come it may, as come it will for a' that sense and worth o'er a' the earth shall bear the gree and a' that. For a' that and a' that, it's coming yet for a' that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for a' that." Now, it's interesting he chose to write in English. He understood how far and travelled this poem would become. He understood the power of it. He communicated with many people across in France and even in America. And in America, he supported the Wars of Independence, and he wrote an ode on General Washington's birthday. And it's hard to find a more radical piece written in English any place during the time. He writes, "But come, ye sons of liberty, Columbia's offspring brave as free. In danger's hour still flaming in the van, ye know and dare maintain the royalty of man. Dark quenched as yonder sinking star, no more that glistens lightens afar, that palsied arm no more whirls on the wastes of war." That's a great phrase even today. That palsied arm. He's talking about the withering power of the English government. That palsied arm no more whirls on the wastes of war. Now, such writing threatened Burns's employment with the government. Naturally, such radicalism was hardly popular. And sometimes he had to resort to writing anonymously. He obviously felt it was worth it, and he also obviously felt it was worth the risk. He was far from perfect. He was clearly a hedonist, a womanizer, and somebody with fairly loose morals in many cases. But Frederick Douglass captured the spirit of the man when he wrote, "We may condemn his faults, but only as we condemn our own. Burns is far more faultless than many who have come down to us on the pages of history as saints." His radicalism and inner conflict bequeathed us a body of work today that is as valid today as it was more than 200 years ago. And it should give us hope and optimism that the permanent pull between left and right provides a certain equilibrium that means that we can occasionally come together and enjoy each other's company in song and dance and merriment. So, to Burns and his immortal memory, Slán je va.
Well, again, you outdid yourself. Thank you, David. We appreciate it, and we send you our best from our little island in America. Now, I'd like to introduce a couple, Bill and Selena Roman. Bill will toast the lassies, followed by the song "My Love is Like a Red, Red Rose." to which Selena will rebut with a toast to the laddies, followed by Coming Through the Rye. Bill and Selena.
Thank you, Steve. In 1774, at the ripe age of 15, Robert Burns put pen to paper and wrote his very first poem. As a farm laborer, Burns was smitten and inspired by his co-worker, Nellie Kilpatrick, and so began a long writing career. Whether paupers or privileged, royalty or servant girl, Burns was compelled to write about lassies. As randy as he was, Burns hardly had relationships with every woman he wrote about, but in nearly every instance he wrote of admiration, respect, flawless character, and beauty. He even wrote about women's rights. But for those who quickened his pulse, Burns' heart poured out on paper. In later years, Raby's younger brother, Gilbert, proclaimed, Raby didn't just admire a lass, he would fall head over heels in love. And such was the case with Allison Begbie, recipient of a flood of letters, and to whom Burns would propose marriage. And Highland Mary Campbell, with whom he planned to run off to Jamaica, only for her to die suddenly. Much of Burns' writing and attention was drawn to intellectual peers. 7 years of poems and letters were exchanged with Nancy McClose, also known as Clorinda, and much of the writing continued well into the years that Burns was married to Jane Armour. It was an amazing affair they carried on purely with pen and paper. In one poem, he declared Clorinda mistress of my soul. But for Jane Armour, his longest love and mother of 9 children, warm love and affection endured, and Burns and Jean wanting to marry after becoming pregnant, Burns was brushed off by Jean's father, deeming him as poor, immoral, and unworthy. Determined as he was, and with newfound celebrity and means, they enjoyed over 10 years of marriage and a growing family. For us laddies, our romantic lives mirror those of Burns. First waves of excitement and emotion, the hope and despair of early romance, and lastly, the thrill of soulmates and enduring love. Lassies make our lives and those around us thrilling, rich, and complete. So here's to our Nellies, our Allisons, our Marys, our Clorindas, and our enduring loves, like Jean. To the lassies.
Dear, all the seas can dry.
I was in a bit of a quandary trying to find inspiration for doing this again. This is the second time we've done it. And I have to admit, I was lacking inspiration in anything I saw in the headlines, so I decided to look a little closer to home. And I saw something that I see every day, but I saw it for the first time really seeing it. The company that I work for is owned and run by women. My doctor, my dentist, my dermatologist are all women. My attorney and my financial planner are women. The bank manager, the postmaster, the grocery store owner are all women. The newspaper publisher and editor, women. The director of our hospital and her chief operating officer, all women. I could go on. There are a lot of reasons for this, but these are some of them, and I think the most important ones. So to all the dads and father figures and found families that drove 6 hours round trip to the Science Museum because that 12-year-old little girl was going to be an astronaut. And to the husbands and partners who support and love us every day, closing the window on self-doubt and relocating for our jobs. To the sons who are raising their daughters and sons to believe in themselves and know that anything is possible. And to the men of this community who work with us every day with honor and respect, I say bravo, well done, thank you. Those are some of the stories that should be in the headlines. To the wonderful laddies.
Thank you, Bill and Selena. That was grand. Our final toast of the afternoon is to all the Scots scattered all over the wide world. Many of them, right now, are lifting a glass to us here today. I'd like to introduce Dorian Lopes, who will toast Scots around the world. Dorian.
A toast to Scots around the world. Here's to Scots around the world, wherever they may roam. And here's to all their ancestors who once called Scotland home. Here's to Wallace, here's to Bruce, here's to Bonnie Charlie, and all the rest who fought for freedom. Could we forget them? Hardly. Here's to all who play the pipes, the snare drum, or the bass. You represent our Scottish pride, our spirit, and our race. Here's to Highland dancers, for they proudly fling their kilts and celebrate our culture that will never, never wilt. Our Scottish kin across the globe, wherever they may be, display their Scottish heritage for all the world to see. So all Scots people and their friends, arise and raise your glasses for all the Scots around the world, our bonny lads and lasses. to Scots around the world.
Thank you, Dorian. Thank you, singers. It was wonderful. Each year at our suppers, we take time to remember those of us who have passed away in the last year. As always, Deborah Metters and Phil Dietrich will bless the flowers of the forest. Deborah, Phil.
As is our tradition, we pause for Flowers of the Forest, an ancient Scottish folk tune about a significant event in the history of Scotland, the Battle of Flodden Field in northern England in 1513, and is a lament to the King of Scots, James IV, many of his nobles, and over 10,000 men who died. Although the original words are unknown, the melody was recorded in circa 1625. Today, the Scottish folk tune serves as a musical backdrop for Scots around the world when memorializing the passing of loved ones. As Phil plays the melodic tune, we would like to pause for a moment to honor the following who have left us this past year. Ruth Amelt Anderson, Tanner James Andrade, Stephen Bailey, Susan Bailey, Betty Daniels, Charles Flathers, Jennifer Gross, Kent Allen Healy, Kay Manning, continuing with another Scottish tradition, and that is to honor our men and women currently serving in the military. Phil will play the meditative Mariner's Hymn, also known as the Naval Hymn.
Deborah. I was going to introduce my brother Colin to give the closing thoughts, but Colin is not able to be with us today. So a free-spending Scotsman, an honest politician, and Santa Claus walked into an elevator. The door closed, and they all looked down and saw a $20 bill on the floor of the elevator. Which one reached down to grab it? It's obvious, Santa Claus. The other two are fictional. So, Colin would have said, if he was here with us today, it's been 3 years since our last in-person Rabbi Burns supper. I'm sure we have very much missed our main event, and I agree with you, Colin. I know it's not the same, but I hope that you have enjoyed our first ever virtual Robbie Burns supper program. Many thanks go out to the Scottish Society of Martha's Vineyard Board of Directors, as well as everyone here today involved with the filming. Thank you, Michelle and MVTV. Special thank you to our director, Deborah Metters, for coming up with and encouraging us to give this a try. And thank you, one and all, for watching us tonight. Now, it's time for the Reverend Dr. Leo Christian, who will finish up our program with his traditional Gaelic blessing. Reverend?
Veskima. May the blessings of light be on you, light without and light within. May the blessed sunlight shine on you like a great peat fire, so that the stranger and friend may come and warm itself at it. And may light shine out of the two eyes of you, like a candle set in the window of a house, bidding the wanderer come in out of the storm. May the blessings of the rain be on you. May it be upon your spirit and wash it fair and clean. And leave there a shining pool where the blue of heaven shines and sometimes a star. May the blessing of earth be upon you, soft under your feet as you pass along the roads, soft under you as you lie on it, tired at the end of the day. May it rest easy over you when at last you lie under it. May it rest so lightly over you that your soul may find out from under it quickly, up and off on its way to God. And now may the Lord bless you, bless you kindly. Amen. Tap the leaf.